Good afternoon, everyone. It's time for Stories with Mrs. Ballou. And today I thought I'd share some stories about ducks. And I have four books, very different stories about ducks. And we're going to start first with Duck, Duck, Moose by Dave Horowitz, published by Scholastic. Duck, Duck, Moose. Traffic signs for the end papers of this book. Duck, Duck, Moose by Dave Horowitz. One day in the great North Woods, "Sure is getting cold," said Duck. "I'm freezing," said Other Duck. "Just the way I like it," said Moose. He has a t-shirt on that says, "I love New Hampshire." "You guys want to go get pancakes?" said Moose. "No can do," said Duck. "We're going south for the winter," said Other Duck. His car says, "Florida or bust." "You should come with us," said Duck. "You just might like it," said the Other Duck. "No way," said Moose. "I like it right here. Bear will get pancakes with me." He said to Bear's cave. "Do not disturb till spring," signed Bear. But Bear was already hibernating. "You've got to be kidding," said Moose. "Guess I'll have to go get pancakes by myself." But the pancake hut was closed until spring. This is going to be one long and lonely winter, thought Moose. Unless you guys still have room for me. And away they went. "Hey," said Duck, "I see New York City." "Hey," said Other Duck, "I see Washington, D.C." "Hey," said Moose, "I've got to pee." He's in Pennsylvania. Here in New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania. Here he says, "Meh." Here he says, "Boring." Somewhere in Georgia, the friends got stuck in a traffic jam. "Row, row, row your boat," sang Duck. "Gently down the stream," sang Other Duck. "Oh, brother," said Moose. At last they arrived. "Welcome to Florida." "Slow down," says the turtle. "Pancake Palace, next exit." "Welcome to Florida," said Duck. "Watch out for alligators," said Other Duck. "Pancakes," said Moose. "Can we stop for pancakes?" First stop, the beach. "Look," said Duck, "a shell." "Look," said Other Duck, "a starfish." "Look," said Moose, "a sea monster." Larry's you pick. Have a hoot, pick a fruit. Next stop, Larry's you pick. "I picked an orange," said Duck. "I picked a grapefruit," said Other Duck. "I picked me," said Moose. And the fun went on and on and on. They went scuba diving. They're watching the flamingos. He says tourists. They saw the space shuttle take off, get off the lawn. They're fishing. We're in a golf course. Here they're boating. And it says no swimming. Oh no. Now they're on an island. Their adventures went on and on. Until one day, "These are the best pancakes I've ever had," said Moose. "What do you guys want to do next?" "Well," said Duck, "the winter is over. It's time to go home now," said the Other Duck. Finally got his pancakes. "No," cried Moose. "I don't want to go home yet." "Oh, brother." Moose, you pick. "Sure is good to be back," said Duck. "It's getting kind of warm," said Other Duck. "Just the way I like it," said Moose. The end. And now he has a shirt that says, "I love Florida." Duck, duck, moose. Our next one is about a duck that lives on a farm. Duck to the Rescue by John Himmelman. Published by Henry Holt and Company out of New York. Duck to the Rescue. For Groucho and Duncan. That's who it's dedicated to. On Monday, Farmer Greenstock said, "I wish I had time to get the pumpkins to the market." Duck to the rescue! driving the truck and all the pumpkins are falling out. Oh no. I guess we can turn them into pumpkin pie, said the farmer. On Tuesday, the little calf climbed too high in the barn. Oh my goodness. How will we ever get down? Duck to the rescue! Moo, said the calf. Oh, he's rescuing the duck. On Wednesday, the chickens needed a break from watching their chicks. Duck to the rescue! Oh my goodness, they've got them all tied up. They're playing pirate. Cluck, 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 said the chickens. On Thursday, the lights went out. Emily was afraid of the dark. Oh no. Duck to the rescue! He's showing a flashlight, and now it looks like the teddy bear's a great big bear. The duck looks scared. Would you be scared of that? Thanks, Ernie, said Emily. Now she's comforting him. On Friday, the scarecrow fell down. Duck to the rescue! Oh, he's going to be the scarecrow. Probably better to leave that job to a real scarecrow, said Mrs. Greenstock. On Saturday, Jeffrey needed another player for his soccer team. Oh no, what's Duck going to do now? Duck to the rescue! Oh no, he's on the ball. Maybe soccer isn't for you, said Jeffrey. On Sunday, the little lamb lost his 2 cupcakes. Duck to the rescue! The pigs all want them. He followed the lost cupcakes. He's found them. There's an arrow. Oh, and the lamb and Duck are sharing the cupcakes. Maybe that'll keep Duck out of mischief. Duck to the rescue. John Himmelman. Now I thought maybe we'd use the whiteboard and sing a little song. Let's see what we have here. We have Mother Duck, and we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 baby ducks. You ready? 5 little ducks went swimming one day over the hills and far away. Mama Duck cried back, quack, quack, but only 4 little ducks came back. 4 little ducks went swimming one day over the hills and far away. Mother Duck said, come back, quack, quack, but only 3 little ducks came back. 3 little ducks went swimming one day over the hills and far away. Mother Duck said, come back, quack, quack, but only 2 little ducks came back. 2 little ducks went swimming one day over the hills and far away. Mother Duck said, come back, quack, quack, but only 1 little duck came back. 1 little duck went swimming one day over the hills and far away. Mother Duck said, come back, quack, quack, but none of the little ducks came back. Oh, sad Mother Duck went swimming one day over the hills and far away. Sad Mother Duck said, quack, 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 and all of the 5 little ducks, oops, came back. One of my magnets fell off. There we go. That's a better way to end the song, isn't it? We don't want the Mother Duck to be sad. We want her ducklings to come back. All right. Our next story that is about ducks is one that's been around for a long time. Make Way for Ducklings by Robert McCloskey. He wrote the words and drew the pictures. You can see the end papers. We have eggs and then ducklings cracking out of the eggs. Published by Viking Press. Make Way for Ducklings. Mr. and Mrs. Mallard were looking for a place to live. But every time Mr. Mallard saw what looked like a nice place, Mrs. Mallard said it was no good. There were sure to be foxes in the woods or turtles in the water, and she was not going to raise a family where there might be foxes or turtles. So they flew on. When they got to Boston, they felt too tired to fly any further. There was a nice pond in the public garden with a little island on it. The very place to spend the night, quacked Mr. Mallard. So down they flapped. Next morning they fished for their breakfast in the mud at the bottom of the pond, but they didn't find much. Just as they were getting ready to start on their way, a strange, enormous bird came by. It was pushing a boat full of people, and there was a man sitting on its back. Good morning, quacked Mr. Mallard, being polite. The big bird was too proud to answer. But the people on the boat threw peanuts into the water, so the Mallards followed them all around the pond and got another breakfast, better than the first. I like this place, said Mrs. Mallard as they climbed out on the bank and waddled along. Why don't we build a nest and raise our ducklings right in this pond? There are no foxes and no turtles, and the people feed us peanuts. What could be better? Good, said Mr. Mallard, delighted that at last Mrs. Mallard had found a place that suited her. But look out, squawked Mrs. Mallard all of a dither. You'll get run over. And when she got her breath, she added, this is no place for babies. With all those horrid things rushing about, we'll have to look somewhere else. So they flew over Beacon Hill and round the State House, but there was no place there. They looked in Louisburg Square, but there was no water to swim in. Then they flew over the Charles River. This is better, quacked Mr. Mallard. That island looks like a nice, quiet place, and it's only a little way from the public garden. Yes, said Mrs. Mallard, remembering the peanuts. That looks like just the right place to hatch the ducklings. So they chose a cozy spot among the bushes near the water and settled down to build their nest, and only just in time, for they were beginning to molt. All their old wing feathers started to drop out, and they would not be able to fly again until the new ones grew in. But of course they could swim, and one day they swam over to the park on the riverbank, and there they met a policeman called Michael. Michael fed them peanuts, and after that the Mallards called on Michael every day. After Mrs. Mallard had laid 8 eggs in the nest, she couldn't go to visit Michael anymore because she had to sit on the eggs to keep them warm. She moved off the nest only to get a drink of water or to have her lunch or to count the eggs and make sure they were all there. One day the ducklings hatched out. First came Jack, then Cack, and then Lack, then Mack, and Knack, and Whack, and Pack, and Quack. Mr. and Mrs. Mallard were bursting with pride. It was a great responsibility taking care of so many ducklings, and it kept them very busy. One day, Mr. Mallard decided he'd like to take a trip to see what the rest of the river was like further on. So off he set. I'll meet you in a week in the public garden, he quacked over his shoulder. Take good care of the ducklings. Don't you worry, said Mrs. Mallard. I know all about bringing up children. And she did. She taught them how to swim and to dive. She taught them to walk in a line, to come when they were called, and to keep a safe distance from bikes and scooters and other things with wheels. When at last she felt perfectly satisfied with them, she said one morning, come along, children, follow me. Before you could wink an eyelash, Jack, Cack, Lack, Mack, Knack, Whack, Pack, and Quack fell into line, just as they had been taught. Mrs. Mallard led the way into the water, and they swam behind her to the opposite bank. There they waded ashore and waddled along until they came to the highway. You can see this book has been around a long time. The cars look much different than our cars do today. Mrs. Mallard stepped out to cross the road. Honk, honk, went the horns on the speeding cars. Quack, went Mrs. Mallard as she tumbled back again. Quack, 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 went Jack, Cack, Lack, Mack, Knack, Whack, Pack, and Quack, just as loud as their little quackers could quack. The cars kept speeding by and honking, and Mrs. Mallard and the ducklings kept right on quack, quack, quacking. They made such a noise that Michael came running, waving his arms and blowing his whistle. Tweet, honk, quack, quack, quack. Here comes Michael to the rescue. He planted himself in the center of the road, raised one hand to stop the traffic, and then beckoned with the other, the way policemen do, for Mrs. Mallard to cross over. As soon as Mrs. Mallard and the ducklings were safe on the other side and on their way down Mount Vernon Street, Michael rushed back to his police booth. He called Clancy at headquarters and said, "There's a family of ducks walking down the street." Clancy said, "Family of what?" "Ducks," yelled Michael. "Send a police car, quick." Meanwhile, Mrs. Mallard had reached the corner bookshop and turned into Charles Street with Jack, Cack, Black, Mac, Knack, Whack, Pack, and Quack all marching in line behind her. Everyone stared. An old lady from Beacon Hill said, "Isn't it amazing?" And the man who swept the street said, "Well, now, ain't that nice?" And when Mrs. Mallard heard them, she was so proud she tipped her nose in the air and walked along with an extra swing in her waddle. When they came to the corner of Beacon Street, there was the police car with 4 policemen that Clancy had sent from headquarters. Policemen held back the traffic so Mrs. Mallard and the ducklings could march across the street. They stopped all the cars. Right on into the public garden. Inside the gate, they all turned around to say thank you to the policeman. The policeman smiled and waved goodbye. When they reached the pond and swam across the little island, there was Mr. Mallard waiting for them just as he had promised. The ducklings liked the new island so much they decided to live there. All day long, they follow the swan boats and eat peanuts. And when night falls, they swim to their little island and go to sleep. Make Way for Little Ducklings, by Robert McCloskey, one of the classics. I have one book left. I think I said that might have been my last one, but one more. This was a Ladybug nominee 13 years ago, so it's been a while. Duck and Goose, written and illustrated by Tad Hills. Beautiful end papers. This is our last book for this afternoon. Published by Swartz and Wade Books out of New York. Duck and Goose. "Oh my, what is that?" Duck quacked. "That's a silly question," Goose honked. "It's a big egg, of course." "Of course it is an egg. I know that," huffed Duck. "What I mean is, where did it come from?" Goose looked skyward. He looked to the river. He looked to the fields. He thought very hard. "Who are you?" he asked finally. "I," said Duck, puffing out his feathered chest, "am the one whose egg this is. I saw it first." Goose quickly raised one web foot. "It's mine. I touched it first." "Hey, you should never put your dirty foot on an egg," Duck scolded. "Don't you know anything about caring for eggs?" "Yes, I do," Goose cried out. "Stop yelling," Duck yelled, then whispered forcefully. "Don't you know that you and your screaming are very likely disturbing the baby bird who is trying to take a snooze inside this egg?" Goose wished that Duck wasn't right. He lowered his head and whispered softly, "I'm very sorry. Go back to sleep in there." "My, that's quite a beauty you have," called a bluebird from across the river. "Thank you. It's mine," quacked Duck. "Actually, it's mine," honked Goose. "Thank you." "So," asked Duck, "what do we do now?" "We should do something," suggested Goose. "Yes, you are right. Good thinking," agreed Duck. "Like what?" So Duck is thinking, this egg is private property. Duck's egg, no geese allowed, no honking, $5 fine. And Goose is thinking, if you are a duck, keep walking. No ducks beyond this point. Quiet, please. Absolutely no quacking in this area. "Well, we must keep the egg warm until the fuzzy little occupant is ready to come out," said Goose. "Excellent idea," exclaimed Duck. He pushed past Goose. "Step aside and I shall do just that." But Goose was quick too. After a flurry of fussing, grunting and groaning, slipping and sliding, honking and quacking, Duck and Goose found themselves back to back. "Scoot over. I don't have any room," complained Duck. "You are much closer to me than I am to you." "Stop yelling in my ear, Goose." "Shh." Goose hushed, pointing at the round thing beneath them. Yes, 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 we must remember. Quiet, quiet, quiet. We mustn't disturb the little one. And so they sat very still and very quiet, waiting. For a long time, they waited. They listened to the crickets chirp and the frogs burp. I'm going to teach this baby bird to quack like a duck, Duck boasted. Well, I'm going to teach it to honk like a goose, Goose honked back. I'm going to teach this baby bird to waddle, Goose added. So am I, Duck said. They heard the pitter-patter of the rain. I'm going to teach this baby bird to swim, Duck said. Me too, Goose said. To pass the time, they sniffed wildflowers in the warm sun and shared breadcrumbs while Goose taught Duck to honk. They watched the sun set in the sky, and Duck taught Goose to quack. They counted the stars in the night sky. Let's teach our baby to fly, said Goose. Good idea, said Duck. I'm sure our baby will be a fast learner, said Duck. If it takes after you and me, I'm sure you're right, agreed Goose. Together they waited until, did you feel that, Duck? Duck nodded. Yes, did you feel that, Goose? Goose nodded. It's time, Goose. It's time, exclaimed Duck. Quickly, Duck slid down and started running in circles around their egg. What should we do now? He hollered. I think we should remain calm, Goose yelled back. Excuse me, a little voice called out. Duck stopped. In all the exciting confusion, he had failed to notice the bluebird kicking their egg. Can I play too? She asked. Play? This is no time for play, yelled Duck. This is no time for games, yelled Goose. And what's with the kicking? I was only trying to get your attention, said the little bird. Well, you got it, Duck huffed. False alarm, Goose, back to work. Can't you see that we are very busy here, Goose explained to the bluebird. This is serious business. This is perhaps the most important moment of our lives. Oh my, I am sorry, apologized the bluebird. I had no idea. I just thought that maybe I could play with your ball. It really is a nice one, she added, and then she flew away. Goose gulped. Did she say ball? He whispered to Duck. You know, I did have my doubts, Duck finally said. It is a bit squishier than most eggs I've seen. Yes, I must say I was somewhat suspicious of those big dots, Goose admitted. May not be an egg, but it is lovely, said Duck. Oh, absolutely, Duck, Goose agreed. It's a keeper. As the crickets chirped, the frogs burped, and the grass swayed in a gentle breeze, Goose quacked and Duck honked, and the ball bounced, rolled, and sometimes even flew. Duck and Goose. It was really a ball the whole time. They thought it was an egg. Silly Duck and Goose. Hope you enjoyed our stories this afternoon. And I hope that you will come and visit us soon at the library by appointment. Come browse for books. Or if you want to get some books through curbside pickup, you can. We're still doing book bundles. If you need a bunch of books to enjoy, just give us a call or send an email. Miss seeing you all. Hope to see you sometime soon. Maybe when the weather gets warmer. Bye.